welcome to the No K podcast. Today we have a real special guest, Fritz Moua, coming all the way from Wausau, Wisconsin. So you came a long way, man. I really appreciate you coming.
And he did not just come, well, he did come for the podcast, but he didn't just come this morning because we're shooting in the morning right now. So he didn't just come, this morning, but he still did come to Minnesota for the podcast.
Yeah, and you arrived last night.
That. Yeah. It's not that
hit
far,
the town
really.
a little bit,
So
It's still
family,
3 hours,
still
3
here.
hours though, right? You said,
just under 3 hours. It was like, I do come here. Often, but not often enough.
So. Yeah.
3 hours is a rough
It's
drive.
still a little
Find
drive.
a reason to come here. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know told me a little bit, few things about you, but that you're a marathon runner, and then you're part of the Wisconsin's running team, correct?
As far as like the Hmong running club,
yeah,
for sure. And I have a team in the Wausau area. You know, they really the one who kind of got me into all of this. And then I didn't physically meet the Hmong running team until later.
Okay.
But either way, you know, we share the same experiences.
Yeah. So the reason like why I invited Fritz on, and so when we do this podcast, we're always usually looking. Peng and I usually looking for people that we just find like is either interesting, motivates us, something about their story is inspiring, something about it just like we want to talk to that person because we think that there's value in what you can bring to not only us, right? We always say selfishly we want to learn more too, but we also think like the community is good to hear stories that, and it's not always all about the ups, the downs are part of the journey as well. But with you just have first of all, we met through my cousins, right? We met at a wedding down in Kansas City, like, that's 3 years ago already.
I think somewhere around there.
Kansas City, Hmong people down there?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Really? Crazy.
But I had heard about you because I run too. You know, I'm not a crazy runner, but I run and I still pay attention to the Hmong community of runners, which I think we'll talk about too. That's a community that I want to highlight because honestly, running is just something that I'm really a fan of. But you're one of the guys that you have an interesting story because you do all those long runs, but you also, I know you didn't come from being a runner and then you have all these other things. So that's just to premise, just so that you guys know who kind of Fritz is. I'll let him do the introduction himself as to who he is, and then we'll dive into all these other topics. But I wanted to just be first to just say the reason I really wanted to get you over here is to just hear that story, and then obviously talk about all the achievements that you've got through running and all the lessons you've learned through what is, I'm sure, felt to you like a very long roads of up and downs, especially with your health. So I'll let you introduce yourself, Fritz, a little bit more, and we can go from there.
Hi, I'm Fritz Moua. I'm from Wausau, Wisconsin. Really, the whole running story or running game in my life, I wanted to drop some weight. This is before anything. I didn't know anything about.
How long ago was that?
And this was, 11, 12 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't know anything about running. I just put on some pair of shoes, shorts. I'm like, okay, I'm out the door. Cool.
Yeah.
3 miles. Like, dang, I gotta wake up Sunday morning. I gotta run 3 miles. That was a struggle.
3 miles pretty hard though.
That's brutal for me. That's brutal for me. I don't even know.
I didn't know anything. I'm like, okay, it was great, cool. I needed to lose some weight, which I did. I hit my goal weight. Fun.
Were you like overly big at the time, or you just weren't happy where you sat?
I just wasn't happy where I was.
Sat?
I was at 149, 150.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, I'm not about it, you know? And I tried and tried, and over time I tried and tried. I'm like, okay, I need to really get down to this running game so that I can lose weight. Cool, I did it. That's fine. Now, at 135, I'm like, I like this. And then I gained it right all back anyways.
So it was to lose weight, like initially when you first... So let me go way back. Did you play sports, anything like that when you were like growing up as a teen?
Yeah, I mean...
Is that part of your background?
The Hmong volleyball.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I love that's why I came to J4 when it was big. All those guys playing.
No, I just asked because some people pick up running out of nowhere. Some people used to be athletes and then stopped and then pick up running. You know, everybody's got a different path to how they became somebody who runs, especially at your level. So I was just curious, you know, but it sounds like you were active as a kid, teen.
Active before all of that, but running wasn't.
Right.
That was just to lose some weight, and I'm just like, okay, cool, you know, watch what I eat. That was really kind of well I started it, and then I gained all my weight back anyway. So,
Yeah.
you know, kind of lost my weight. Okay, which is fine, and then it wasn't until I got sick.
Yeah.
And I mean, even though recovery was a couple years now, or definitely now, but it kind of felt like I went from black to white. Like this happened overnight.
Yeah.
It was so fast. After being diagnosed with herpes simplex and syphilis.
Okay.
Now, what is it? And
Yeah, can you explain?
Let's
Is
explain.
that okay? Can we dig into that a little
no,
bit?
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
We
because-
you can ask me anything.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I know that like a couple of weeks ago you had posted that it was 10 years post that picture, where in the picture you're looking like you're definitely either asleep or partly conscious, and you have all kind of wiring going around you, and it's a pretty powerful image to see. I just looked at it this morning again, but
We'll
it's
have
a
to
pretty
post
powerful.
that on there.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
pretty powerful picture, and I had never seen that picture because I only seen you on the internet as the guy who runs. So to see that picture, to me, really it really hit a point with me where like, whoa, okay, Fritz came from that, and then it made me question other things like, well, did running come because of that, or it just made me like question, well, is that the motivation that keeps him going today? Because everybody runs for a reason, and we all got different reasons for running. But yeah, can you just take us through like maybe? And I'm really curious, and feel share as much as you want or as little as you want. Like, what was the diagnosis leading up to, and then what was the diagnosis, and then how was that to go through, man? Because I haven't gone through that as a human being,
Yeah.
And I'm curious what it's like to go through something.
It's so life-changing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely life changing for sure. I didn't even know about it, and what herpes simplex and syphilitis. We know herpes virus as the cold sore virus.
Yeah.
Right,
Very
right.
common, harmless, stays dormant in your body. If anything, it's irritating when it attacks the skin.
Right.
Okay. Fortunately, not for me. It started with a fever, and I was just like, oh, it's around Thanksgiving, which was Thanksgiving Day. I'm like, okay, I have this fever, not a big deal. It's normal, everybody gets sick, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then the next day, it got worse. I was a bit stubborn. Hey, you want to go to walk-in? No. At 101 degrees, 400 adult, 102 degrees, like, no, I'm stubborn. I'm like, no, we're not going to go.
Yeah, just
I'm
classic
fine.
Hmong man, right?
It will clear itself. And then the following day, it got worse. At this part, I don't know, and this is where my baby mama, my wife at the time, this is where she comes in, she tells a story. We went to take a nap, and I've just been sleeping, confused and slurring my words. I did nothing pretty much today. I just lay down. Well, let's go lay down again. And then I fell into a full-blown seizure, and they pretty much called the emergency. They rushed me to the hospital. They diagnosed me, which they misdiagnosed me. He's got meningitis. But
Right, meningitis, which is like a brain.
right,
Yeah.
and they were like, well, okay, let's stick with that. He's got meningitis. But my baby mama said, but the ER doctor, he felt that, I think something's wrong. Something else is wrong.
Yeah.
My gut feeling, something's wrong.
Yeah.
I want to do a spinal tap.
Yeah.
The only problem was it was a 3-hour wait for
Yeah.
the spinal tap. So
And that's a rough process, right? That's when they extract fluid from your spine,
from the
right?
spine. Which at this point in time, I'm like
You're like
lost
yeah.
in and
Yeah.
out of conscious. I mean, I can hear people. I can see like the lights. No, it's just like the movies where you see all the lights that rolling through the hallways.
Yeah.
I can see all that. I can hear people. They're using all these medical terms, but I had no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And I do remember doctors like, hey, there's going to be a little slight pressure on the back.
Yeah.
Which he shoved the needle at me, and you guys ever seen one of those needles?
Yeah. I've had that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
So
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, it's damn scary.
Yeah, they make you lay in like a fetal position,
Yeah,
and then they just
shove
like
it right
shove
in the
this
back, and
giant
I'm like-
needle to extract like spinal fluid out of you. Oh, it's intense. Yeah.
I was so out of it that I didn't even know.
Yeah.
When the virus attacked my brain, it put me like in a state where I had no idea what's going on anymore.
Yeah.
And when the spinal attack came back 3 hours later, they said, oh, we now know why. They found the virus in my fluid, and then they said, yeah, it has entered his brain. So what it does to how it attacks your lips is how it attacks your brain.
Yeah.
And then it got inside my brain, and that's why he's in a full-blown seizure. Then they rushed me to Marshfield because the neurology specialists are there.
Right.
So they rushed me out there, and they basically said, we did everything we can. Even if he makes it through this, the damage done to his brain, he may never be the same.
Yeah.
Meaning it was gonna leave me either mentally or physically
Right.
disabled.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't know all this. And
Right.
only my family and friends, they came, all the prayers, all the blessings, whatever they did.
Yeah.
But as when I say I woke up, I was like conscious where I can actually have a physical conversation.
Yeah.
But I've woken up in between there where it was just, it was dark and cold all the time.
Yeah.
I felt like it was
Yeah.
always dark and cold. And I was just kind of lost in my own world of many times where I felt like my brain was like somebody shoved a needle and I wanted to just rip my head off because there's nothing I can do. There's a needle stuck in my head. That's what it felt like. And then I would just be unconscious.
Yeah.
And in and out of that.
Yeah.
I don't know my days anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what's what.
How long did your family tell you it was that you were like when you would consider that you came back to a consciousness? How long was that time period from the time you first got admitted till the time that you
Admitted. 29th. It was about a week.
Oh,
and a
okay.
half
Yeah,
before
that's a
I
lot.
started to doctors like, well, he needs to eat, he needs to drink, he
Right.
needs to do something because.
Right.
But I would wake up and it would just be like random things. I would say random things like, "Oh, I'm hungry." When the food gets there, I'm not eating.
Yeah.
Or I'll just knock
You're
out.
in and
like,
out of your body,
oh,
basically. Yeah.
I'm lost.
Right.
Yeah.
Just trying to at the same time when I did wake up, they're trying to explain to me
Yeah,
what
for
happened.
sure. Hey,
and
this
I'm
is why you're here. Yeah.
I'm still trying to digest what happened
Right.
on top of everything that already happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the amount of pain and trying to take meds and IV and being hooked up to an EEG, I'm just like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't know I was exhausted.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it was
It's
kind of
like
all
a-
over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a state of just being, right?
Yeah,
Like
and
just be and see
Just
what
being
happens.
there, like, oh, what's really going on? But it wasn't really until, I don't know what night it was, but it was a night where it must have been late in the night because my baby mom was there. And it's weird because when I was unconscious and I couldn't speak out or I can hear people, but I can't.
Yeah.
There was this feeling where I can really focus on me, which I did. I had a conversation with myself, what's really going on, and digesting what they've been telling me. Okay, this is what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
And I told myself, oh, this is what happened. Okay, I get it. I've accepted that. I can feel that my baby mama, was next to me. She's scared. She's been crying. She's, there's a lot of pain going on, even though we never had this conversation, but that connection.
Yeah.
Right.
It just felt weird. It felt like, she was really worried about me. And I was telling myself, wow, so much is going on. I don't know what day it is, but a lot has been going on.
Yeah.
And I remember I opened my eyes finally, and I took a deep breath, and in this dark, cold room, I knew I was in the hospital, but I'm like, it felt great how the dark, cold air punctured all of my lungs. I'm like, damn, man, this is life.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can feel it.
Now
Yeah.
I can really feel where I can feel oh, wow, this really happened. Okay, I get it. I remember I opened my eyes and I'm in a room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dark, dim. I look over. My baby mom is there. She's sleeping. Yeah. She looks exhausted. I'm like, I bet it was exhausting. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like had a conversation. I remember telling myself, man, this is what life is.
Yeah.
And I took a deep breath, and I kept taking my deep breath, and I'm like, okay, this is, I'm gonna accept this. From here on out, let's figure out what the hell's going on. So after that was really when, okay, hey, doctors are coming in, you need to eat. Can you understand me now? You know, things like that. You want to eat? Yeah. I remember nurse practitioner saying, so you ready to know what happened?
Yeah.
I was. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. Mentally, I'm ready.
Yeah.
But soulfully, I wasn't. I was nervous. I was
Yeah.
scared. Like, you guys been telling me all along.
Yeah.
But I nodded my head, and when he told me, I was just mind blown by like, what? You're the fortunate one.
What happened?
Yeah. And so this is the same herpes virus that we all have when we have cold sores, but then instead of it showing on your skin or attacking your skin, it attacked your brain essentially.
Yeah. So it entered my right frontal lobe, and my neurologist says you look at the brain like a map. Let's say an asteroid came, took out a bridge. Those neurons can't connect, and when they can't connect, you fall into a seizure. Well, when the virus attacked your brain, it broke that connection, and now it left a lesion or a hole.
Yeah.
And that's why you're in the situation you are. And your brain is contained in the skull. When the virus attacked, your brain swelled up. That is why. And we were afraid that we can't do anything for you at that point in time. And if it swells up and it breaks your brainstem, well, now you're in deep trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
So they did everything they can. They gave me an antiviral and some IV, and basically said
That's basically
Yeah.
the extent of what they did.
Yeah.
So they monitored me, and I made it this far. And that day, they're like, well, you made it this far. Now we want to know, they didn't say this, but they wanted to have a conversation. Can he still function? Can he still eat?
Right.
Or is he's gonna need
Disability
help
and
forever?
stuff. Yeah.
So they kept me longer in there. Physical therapy. Simple things where they had paperclip, nickels, pencils.
Yeah, just to
I
see
couldn't
your.
even-
So complete loss of motor skills.
I couldn't do those things. I'm like,
Wow.
But in my head, like at the time, I knew those things. Like,
Right.
I see it all the time. But when I try to speak out,
It's like the electrical impulses were not going to
it just
the
wasn't
motor
going.
function.
It just wasn't talking back, and that I struggled with that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang. But in my head, I'm like, I do know what it is. My mind, my body says, I see those things all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just lost. And now I'm like all over the place. I'm hungry, and I'm short-term memory is kind of gone. Like who came, who visited, friends came. I'm like, what? You guys already did? What we talked about. I also talked about the past a lot, and which was the present already. Who you know, I mixed things up, and kind of lost in this own world.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy. Like, talk about the recovery process. Like, how long were you in the hospital for? And then I'm sure when you went home, like, you still had to do like a ton of physical therapy. Because now you're like, I would have never thought that. I came in a little late today, shook your hand, like, your motor skills and everything kind of seemed absolutely fine. Like, I would have never thought that. And you guys alluded to like a sickness earlier, but holy shit, I did not think it was like.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know, well, at the time, I didn't know how recovery was. I just know that the doctor said, well, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, okay, because I have nothing to lose
Nothing
now.
to-
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Get up and walk. I hated it. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I remember going to walk with the nurse, and she's walking, she's helping me out. And she's like, are you ready to go now? And I'm like, I said, yeah, but no, I wasn't. I held on to her belt. I'm like, no, don't let me go.
Yeah.
I didn't make it very far, and I was just thinking, like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So we went back, and the next day, again and again, I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Eventually, I was in there for about just under a month.
Okay.
Yeah, and walking for the first time. She's like, "Okay, I want to let you go." And I remember, I'm like, "I'm gonna reach this window over here. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do today." And just I did it, and it was a struggle to get there on my own. But now thinking back, I'm like, man, that the simple things you take granted, wow, that's who I was once, and this is the fire that kept me going today.
Yeah.
Because this is happening when you're 30 years old? Like,
So I'm 41 now.
So
So
31?
10 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, which is 31 is an interesting part, right? It's an interesting stage of life too, because you feel like you should be on top of the world. Maybe not like when you're 21, but you're very much like the beginning of being even an adult, right?
Like
30,
you know yourself
you're
well.
fresh,
This is what
you're
I'm
ready
doing.
to go,
I enjoy this. I don't like this. This is not me.
Right.
I thought that at 31.
Yeah.
But man, 40s. This is really me.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying this. 40s
Yeah.
are even better.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Yeah.
30s, I thought I had it all, but no, it wasn't until then.
So you do that for about a month, and then they release you, let you go home. Is there anything that you do after that, as far as like medically, to just make sure it doesn't happen again? Just medication?
So
or?
after that, I will be on anti-seizure meds, strong amount. And before they left me, they released me to go home, they made sure that, okay, he's capable of taking care of himself.
Yeah.
So at this time, they know that, well, he's doing well. Motor skills, all that. He can talk, he can speech therapy. I had to do some speech therapy even after that. I was released just to guarantee that I was okay. Physical therapy, okay, he's good. So they did release me, but I felt that I had to live in a bubble because they were telling me, well, we even though you're capable of all this, the brain recovery is you might have to take meds forever because we don't know that. What if there's another seizure? You can't drive because something happens. Work. Now work's gonna be he can't work for us, because now I'm unreliable.
Stuff,
So, things like that. And then I had to take all that in on top of what already happened.
Yeah, right.
There was just so much weight on me, even though, I was happy to be home.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's like you won one thing, but you
but at the
got
same
more
time,
to fight.
hey, life's just gonna be like this for the rest of your life. And I'm just like, when you're at the lowest part of your life, and when, like, for example, your doctor, when they tell you that I depended on answers from them, and when they told me that, I'm kind of like, I'm already at my lowest point, and that's the best you can tell me.
Right.
I don't blame them, but at the same time, I was just angry that I wanted answers, and I wanted a better answer. That's not what I wanted to hear.
You want a solid answer, right? It's like a black and white yes or no,
and
not
just
a.
like, this is kind of like what you have to live for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And then baby mama was already like 7 months pregnant, so I was having a newborn coming in, and I'm just like, all of this trying to soak it in. So when I actually got home, recovery for the brain recovery, man, it was terrible. I'm tired, chronic fatigue, but the thing is, I can't sleep because it has the nerve damage in my brain. I couldn't sleep. And even if I could sleep, I can't stay asleep. But I'm tired. I just been a restless night.
Yeah. Now you're dealing with some levels of insomnia.
That is like my fight. Even 10 years now, I'm still fighting that.
Right.
I'm still fighting.
And the brain to recover needs rest, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not able to rest, then
if you can't rest,
you're not giving adequate time to your brain to heal. Yeah.
So that fight is just miserable. I'm miserable of lack of sleep. Just trying to be myself again, eating your taste buds and your things like that.
Did those things
Simple
disappear?
things.
Taste buds, smell?
Oh, they were all gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were like,
so you knew about that before COVID came around. You didn't need COVID.
I don't know. A lot of my favorite foods, I'm like, I don't want to eat that.
Has that stuff come back?
over the years, definitely the first 3-4 years,
Dang,
it was
that
a
long,
struggle.
huh?
4
It took
years.
a long time.
Yeah.
and
So
for
what,
me to
you just
get
ate the
there.
things that you knew used to be good?
Yeah, and I just like, even if I didn't like it, I'm like, well, I need this.
the
My body
nutrition,
needs
yeah.
it. So I just shoved it in, swallowed it. Okay, cool. I'm done.
Yeah.
And not to mention, I went in at 149 pounds.
Yeah,
I
which is
came
leave
out
it.
at 119 pounds.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I,
yeah, because you just weren't eating, I'm
I
guessing?
just weren't eating.
Wow.
I just lost appetite. So for a long time there, I didn't even look myself in the mirror. Eventually, I grew out my hair. I didn't shave. I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of that.
Yeah.
And so that kind of part played a role, like who I am. What
Yeah.
And yeah, I lost all of that. And I didn't really care for myself. I was just kind of eating whatever, drinking whatever.
Well, you obviously now you're a marathon runner, right? How long, like, before you were up on your feet, and then, like, you originally started running to lose weight.
Right.
I mean,
And
this
that was
kinda-
before that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was way
just
before
right
that. Yeah.
Before
Oh,
that. It was
just
like
before
right
that.
Before I
Okay.
got sick, and I actually just how I went home. Now I have to live in this bubble, taking meds, and I have to really watch myself. Okay, cool. And I was actually very depressed.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
My
believe it.
anxiety like skyrocketed.
Oh, I bet.
I fell into this deep depression and I felt like I hit it well. So nobody knew. But then when my kids went to school, maybe my mom's gone. It really hit me where I just kind of like, I'm home with myself.
Right.
Yeah.
I
You
didn't
and
really
your
know
thoughts,
where to
right?
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
is where I started to like give up on myself,
Yeah.
and I didn't take care of myself.
Because you couldn't go to work. Great. You
Yeah.
had,
no
yeah,
work,
can't work.
no driving, no nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
You're
And I'm
stuck.
out
You're just
there
a body. Yeah.
Exhausted. I'm tired. I'm just
Yeah.
doing nothing for
Yeah,
myself.
Yeah,
yeah.
you probably feel like a
Right.
burden to your family.
Yeah, and I definitely didn't want to be a part of that. I didn't
Yeah,
want-
yeah.
I'm like, oh man, I'm working. They're texting me, they're checking on me. They don't hear from me. They're like, hey, you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, but eventually, 3 years of depression there. I just like, but I mean, I did go back to work. But that first 6 months, it was hard. It
Yeah.
was really hard. I had to fight to go to work, and work was like, doctor was like, so they
Yeah.
all my doctors came together, and they're like, why are you pushing so hard?
Right.
TBI, traumatic brain injuries, recovering, sleeping, and that's the best you can do for yourself. Because
Yeah.
there's no meds, there's no magic
Yeah.
that's gonna be like,
Right.
boom, okay, here you go, you're good to go. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was just stuck in this hole and to carry this heavy weight on me. And then I had my baby, and on top of that,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
woo,
Yeah.
I've broken down many
Yeah.
times. And then I gave everything up, and my baby mom came one day, and she's like, I see that you're selling all your paintball gears and, things you love doing, like all your snowboard gear.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? You're giving it all away. What's this?
Yeah, those are red flags for like
your
suicidal
car,
stuff
what,
when you
you
start
gonna
giving
sell
away
it?
things. Yeah.
Yeah, you've been working on it. The engine's not even in the car yet. What's going on? And then when she left work, I thought to myself, I saw the pictures, and this is when she finally told me like what happened from her eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to
Yeah.
even listen to her. I'm like, oh, I'm ready for it. Lay it on me now. And I saw the pictures, I read her journal, and I'm like, that kind of gave me the spark to, I can do better. I
Yeah,
can make better of
right.
myself. And one day I got up from the bed, and I kind of like tripped over my running shoes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whatever. It was just sticking out just enough to hit my
Yeah.
toes, and I'm like, whatever. And then I was gonna go wash up. I look back, I'm like, how about today, let's put on that shoes.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And after all that, this is like 6 months in already.
Mm-hmm.
I ran my first mile. It was still cold, winter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. I ran my first mile, and I know something of this life of breathing in this.
Yeah.
It felt great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at 14-minute miles, I'm like walking, running. I'm just
Yeah.
doing me right now. All
Yeah.
the thoughts of Fritz trying to come back to be me.
Yeah.
And that's really
motor function was back after 6 months. Your motor functions were good enough back to like you could run.
Oh yeah. Everything was
came
good.
back.
Everything was good.
Yeah.
The only thing I couldn't. I had to be functioning before I left the hospital. So everybody, doctors
They
really
made
knew,
sure, yeah.
okay, he's good. He's good to go on his own. The biggest flaw was this damage in his brain.
Right. Can it happen again?
Yeah, can it happen
What's-
again?
yeah,
Or
the liabilities.
can he just be walking and doing this and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
See, we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't
yeah.
know what's
Yeah.
going to happen. And I was always scared, like, I don't know what's going to
Yeah,
happen
yeah.
either. So
Yeah.
how do
Yeah,
I
you
live
don't
my
know.
life where, like, I didn't want to live that
Right.
life. But I'm like, I don't care. I put my shoes on and
Right.
I ran anyways. And it felt great. It felt
Yeah.
great, this nice cold air. This is like one of the rare times where I left like my house you know,
Yeah.
on my feet. And this feels good.
Yeah.
I came back home and that's really kind of when I started. The next day, I went to 3 miles. The next day, 6, 9. And it just kept going and kept going. And it got warm. Wausau Marathon was there. I've been chasing the Wausau Half Marathon. I'm never going to do more than that.
Yeah.
And I finally ran my first half, which in Wausau now it's warm.
That's still within that year of coming home.
It was still my
Okay.
recovery.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. It wasn't within the same year. It was
Okay.
actually 2 years later. I didn't do
Okay.
my first half until
okay.
2 years later.
Okay.
Which was 2015 when I crossed
Yeah.
the finish line. Yeah, and it took, I don't know, all those years of just running and the recovery, sleeping. Like, let's go back to sleeping. If I don't sleep, I don't rest. My muscles can't recover.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to do this. But I keep telling myself, hey, do it because you know what? If it makes you feel good, if it makes it better
Yeah,
for
it
you,
keeps you-
and
Yeah.
it made
Makes
me
you
feel
feel alive,
good.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I love this. I'm loving this life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, running. It wasn't just the fact that I was loving that, but these long runs that I was taking is really where I went to go and define myself.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just me, some music. This is before distance and time even matter.
Yeah.
I'm just being me, and it's really where I got to know like who I am.
Right.
You know, Fritz. You know, think about you and
Yeah.
me meeting me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
What's this sound? You know,
Yeah.
I started to enjoy like who I am.
Yeah.
Okay, Fritz, what are the changes that I can make in my
Yeah.
own life that I can love more? And then I started making these changes that, yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of like this new Fritz.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a sense of like taking control of back of your life, right?
Right. Mhm.
Because like you had this traumatic experience, you lost all control, and then like doctors were telling you different things. You couldn't go back to work, but then like that running kind of allowed you to kind of take all that back, right?
Yeah.
And feel back alive.
It's
That's
like
incredible.
having an interview with myself.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like to say it's the new me, but really it's me.
Yeah.
I just had to find this other side.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
I started to enjoy that.
How much do you think the experience that tough experience we just talked about here, going through all that, going to the hospital, how much do you think that played into giving you fire to run? Do you think it made you run? Obviously, it must make you run differently than if it didn't happen. But how much how much is it something that you think about on your runs when you got to dig deep and you're like, this is where you came from? Like, how often do you use that as fuel for yourself, right? Because I feel like that's something I would use all the time. If I was a long distance runner, and I had to dig deep, it would be the easiest place to dig back to and say, bro, you ain't gonna die on this road here. Like you almost died in the hospital bed, right?
Right. 10 years in, not a day goes by, I still think about the day that happens.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving Day of every year.
Yeah, every year it's like their anniversary.
Yeah.
So 10 years in, I still think about this is
Yeah.
this is the fuel, the fire, my fire
Yeah.
of living life.
Yeah.
Well, now you're doing long distance running. Like, do you any concerns about like potentially having a seizure like on the run or anything like that? Or like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
that
still,
did
like,
play
in
a
play?
role.
Okay.
Even though I started running and I was, as I mentioned, that I was very depressed. I did go meet my doctor. Baby mama brought it up without me saying anything. Baby mama just, he's in a very depressed stage right now.
Yeah.
And the doctor was like, and this is right when I just started running a lot. And I'm like, and he goes, well, what can we do about it? And then I blurted out that, you know, I've been running, I've been doing a lot of exercise, and I'm telling you, it feels great. And he goes, you know, that's the best way. I could put you on meds, but if it doesn't work out, come back. And really, this is why running plays such a big role in my life, because it is really how I got here. So I love it, and it made me feel good. It made me feel well, even though I'm just by myself. Well, at the time, but now I'm like running with teams, and you know, I find other people like who's gone through something like this, or who just enjoys it in general, enjoying life. You know, all of those inspiring me. I'm like, hey, I don't need any meds. And doctor's like, okay, that's the best way. Yeah, you can go home.
And I think that is the best way. I mean, there's some illnesses where, let's say you have a lot of seizures, where you got to just be on meds. Like there's no,
I have to.
There's no alternative. But then for some things that can be controlled, the first thing should be to go back to, and it's just my opinion, but it should go back to holistic methods first, right? Being healthy, eating healthy, working out.
Yeah, and by far I'm not a professional in the medical field, but I felt like they and my doctors felt like, well, if you don't need it, we don't give it to you. Okay, and now just 10 years out, I'm like, I've proven that I don't need it, because you know, life is good.
It seemed to work out really well for you.
Not just like the running well, but getting back to, am I scared that there might be a series? Yeah, when I'm running, it's 20 degrees out. I was very scared at the time. There's a bit of me that's still scared of that.
Well, you got to have a healthy awareness, right? You got to still be
like in my back of my mind, I need to know that. Hey, that happened to you. These things can still happen. Yeah. Definitely when I'm in the water. So the first time, now I'm not just running. Now I'm getting into like the whole triathlon, Ironman. Now I'm in the water. I was so nervous to get in the water by myself. Nobody's around. Like, they don't know my condition.
Right.
But even before that, I had a friend who, my friend, my support team, they're super amazing. You know, he would get in there. He has a kayak. You know, I'm in the water. Okay, wherever you go, I go. Okay. So that kind of like helped me get into the water. But the day one where I'm like, I'm here by myself. Hell yeah, I'm scared. Like, what if something happens?
Because I mean, to seize up in the water is definitely.
I don't know. I don't know what happens. I don't know.
And on competition days, do they allow you to have like an assistant, like in your condition? Do they allow somebody to kind of ride along in a kayak with you, or
do you even have to tell them?
When like signing up for Ironman, this is my condition. In a sort of speak, I put it in my in my history just in case something goes down. They kind of know, even though they have great volunteers out there, everything's set up very nice. So in case something happens, I did town
for sure. So we covered all that, right? And now we know, or me, I know you. I'm aware of you as a runner.
Story.
So let's talk about now, right? So I just want to put some numbers out there. So how many marathons have you ran up to this point?
I lost track. I lost track, and I don't know anymore. But I've done like my first solo trip. I went back to my hometown, Moline, Illinois. I did I think that was marathon number 3. I did Warsaw, Twin Cities, now Sacramento. Got Arkansas.
So marathons, 50Ks, ultras, 100s. Which ones have you done? You've done pretty much.
All my marathons, even from 5K, 10Ks. You know, now I'm confident in myself. Speed and distance is starting to this competition of me where I'm like, okay, this is me now. I want to be fast. I want to be strong.
Right.
So even like as far as like 5K, 10K, halves, fulls, man, I want to be my best.
You want PRs
now
when you can.
I want to compete. And
Right.
even though we're just amateur.
Yeah,
semi-pro,
yeah.
no, but
you get
but really, the only man I need to beat is
yourself.
Yeah.
And you're giving yourself goals. And you've done a 100, right?
100 miler.
Have you done that
I
one
have
yet?
not. So
What-
I've
what's
gone
your-
from
you've done a 50?
marathons to ultra marathon starts at 30 miles. And then from 30, 50, 100, and the famous 200, and people,
Yeah.
these runners are getting crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
We got a couple Hmong. There's a handful of ultra that have ran the
there is
100
a
miler that are
slew.
Hmong, right?
And they are truly amazing.
Hell yeah.
Man.
Like there's that
They're
one
built
girl. I know there's one of the girls. I don't know where she's from in that Hmong runners group. That she's done a lot of the 100 miler. One of the ladies.
Yeah, there's a few of them in there.
There's a few. Okay. Yeah.
Who are just
It's amazing. That's crazy.
they're just not
Yeah.
counting us, but they're
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
Any aspirations for you to run? To
Yeah,
do
so
like an ultra like
Yeah.
that?
How much
Broke
further are
into
you
my
trying to go?
ultra in Duluth. I did Wild Duluth.
Okay.
That was my first ultra at 30 miles, and typically it's a trail running. So that's kind of like how I got into like trail running.
Yeah.
Now I'm not just running paved. It's a different style of
Right,
running.
yeah.
Everything's different.
The
Even,
game
like-
plan's
Yeah,
different.
man,
Yeah.
all of it. You're
Yeah.
eating, you're carrying your
When are you
gear.
gonna stop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it rains, what kind of shoe? And all of that like it's a totally different mindset.
Different strategy. Yeah.
So, yeah, man, and I have to say it's cool. I love it. I fell in love with trail running.
Yeah.
It's because, well, you're probably talking about you for sure.
Yeah, I mean, every time I look at, I
She's
mean,
like-
you're one of those people, or they are too. You're one of those people. Every time I look at, because I'm just trying to train for my first marathon coming up, Grandma's with my dad. We're gonna be running it. It'll be both of our first time. But when I look at you guys, it's like, I always like to have somebody I can look up to as an example of like, wow, those guys are really going hard. Whether it be guy, girl, and then because you guys are Hmong, it's even more easy for me to relate as well and be like, well, dang. Like, I've always been like that since I was a kid, and I try to always have that. So when it comes to running, since it's something that I'm doing, I look at you guys as like, okay, like, I pay attention to you guys this time, not with any intent of ever beating it because I don't run like you guys do, but it's just like, dang, okay, man, I can't, you just need some reason, right? Even if I run it in 4:30 or 5 hours, I'm like, I don't care. But it's just cool to see that these guys go hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's good to
26 miles is no joke. I tell you.
know. I've never done it.
And you doing Grandma's?
We're doing Grandma. I think this year my dad and I signed up. Last year we signed up for TC, but it got canceled. So so this year we're gonna
TC,
run Grandma's and
cool.
TC
It's a
is the
good
goal.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those
I
are
see you at
both
Grandma's.
marathons.
They're both
Yeah.
marathons. Yeah, I've only done
Marathons are
half.
26
Yeah.
milers, right?
26.3.
Your traditional marathon is 26.2 miles.
2.2, yeah.
Okay.
So let me ask you now, so from a runner perspective, what was the time when because I'm just curious, what was the time of your first marathon, and what's your best time? How much has that changed?
So my very first came. Let me see. It was like 4 hours something, 4:15 or something.
That's pretty
like
good.
that.
That's pretty good for a first.
Yeah, that was my very first. I'm like, but at the time, like you're right, like I was really competitive, and now I want speed and power and time matters.
Right.
But I was I was happy
Just to finish
finish
it, right?
my
Yeah,
first
yeah.
marathon. I'm like, cool. After
Yeah.
the hell I went through, I'm like, man, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, this is where I met the Hmong running team. I'm like, dang, this is what it takes.
Yeah.
These guys are fast. And those guys who inspired me, like, oh, I could do better. I can do
Yeah.
faster. That's
Yeah.
how we got into it. And from 4:15, when I broke under 3:30, man, I'm like,
3:30 is qualifying time for Boston as a man, or is it
at-
3:05?
they go. Boston is based on your age group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But 15, I'm 25 to 30. What's that middle age group? Like 25 to 40, where you'd fall in
for
right
me,
now?
I'm 40 to 49.
40 to 49.
Yeah, and
And what's that time right now to qualify for Boston?
for men's
3:05, 2:45?
It's fast, man. They wanted 3:10.
3:10.
3:10,
Yeah.
Which
so
is-
just
Which
20.
is what's
Yeah.
the what's the average for that? A 6:30 mile?
So
Or
if you're
s-
running sub 6-minute miles, you're gonna be under
3:15.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
Okay,
under
you're
3
under
hours,
3,
yeah.
okay.
Under 3.
You're under 3 hours.
And
yeah.
when you're doing under 3,
Yeah, you're moving.
Yeah.
and
3-minute mile. That's incredible.
No,
Six-
3 minute,
6-minute
3
miles.
hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
6-minute
so
miles.
6:50,
Okay.
you're breaking under.
Yeah.
Okay.
So under 3 hour. So like for
Yeah.
me, for example, right? I'm not much of a runner. I've only done half marathons. Like for me, my goal this year is just to be like 4:15, right?
Yeah.
4 hours, 15 minutes,
Yeah.
which I think that's like maybe like a 9-minute mile.
Yeah.
You know, so it's nothing crazy, but to me,
Yeah.
like a lot of runners have told me, like don't worry about your time. It's your first one.
Right.
Just get across the finish
Yeah.
line, and you can think about what you want to do next.
Yeah.
So I
Feel
really,
it, you know,
so I
really
really
soak it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really do take that advice because it's true. I think when you're new, you're a little bit innocent and ignorant of the fact that like how it's gonna feel. You're like, I want to do this time, but you've never been to those miles, so how would you know how you feel?
Yeah.
So I do take you guys' advice greatly. Like, okay, no, just finish it. You know, for me to just be doing it with my dad, something that we've never done together, and just be happy about that. And later I'll reanalyze. Right when that run is done, I'll think about, do I do another one? Do I want to be faster? Do I just do halves? Yeah, am I cool with just running 5Ks just for fitness? Like, where do I want to go with
Right.
this?
Right.
And, yeah, and all of that, it does come in a play where, yeah, I felt like that too. And I really like this. People ask, like, what are your favorite miles? I'm like, half marathons. I love half marathons.
Yeah.
You could run, you can get 110%.
You can go hard, yeah.
Right.
And you know, when you finish, you're like, man, that was great. Whether
Yeah.
you place or,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't matter. PR, it
And
felt
your
great.
legs are not completely dead.
So
Right.
then when you're talking 26 or ultras, well, but well, 26 for sure. You can give 110. Man, mile 20, yeah, man.
Brutal, huh?
Yeah,
so
it's-
if you want to like PR or
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
right.
So if you're really pushing yourself on doing those marathons, like what's the recover? Like how many days do you have to like recover afterwards?
My first
Because like if I
marathon.
run like 5 miles, I'm out for like 2 days. You
Right,
know?
and then there's a lot of science, you know, on the
Yeah.
recovery
Yeah.
part. You know what you eat and it helps you recover protein. You know, it's on the science part of it.
Right.
But for me, my first marathon, man, it took me like a week and a half to like fully
Yeah, I would
recover.
imagine,
I'm like,
yeah.
man, I don't even want to run. After a week and a half, I went out and ran. I'm like, oh, I feel good now. No, I ran and walked 3 miles. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God,
Did
this
you
is painful.
prepare? Do you feel like you prepared? Did you prepare decently for your first one? Or did you just...
I felt like, I prepared myself well.
Obviously now you know more, so I know
Yeah,
that I'm not
yeah.
going to compare it to
Well,
now,
yeah,
but...
And I was just gonna say, I felt like I put enough miles to cross the finish line at the time, but I definitely wasn't preparing myself to be breaking under 4.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Yeah, so there's a difference between finishing and finishing
trying to break
and
your own
strong.
PR, yeah.
So so there's a lot of that, but even that's like the marathon world. Then you get into like the ultra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's a little different. Where
Right.
well, I mean, I gifted for those who can run in 7-minute miles for 50 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like mind blown
Yeah.
by those that can do it.
There's definitely levels. Like
God,
I used to always think that I was decent in shape, and you came from a world of sports too.
Yeah.
Like we came up doing different sports, and I used to always think I was decent too. But there is a part of us that does need to be honest that there's different levels of genetics out there in the world.
Right, you
Like
know.
when I was in the Marine Corps, there's guys that I would be like, I'll never beat that guy. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what I do. I will never be faster than that guy because that guy just ran a 5K in like 16 minutes and he doesn't even look tired, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, like,
Yeah.
I'll never be
And
that. Like, I'll never
the
be
more
that.
you do this, the more you're gonna be like, oh,
You're gonna see
I would never
people that
be at
surprise
this
you.
level.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm gonna be at my best
Your
level. That's
level,
where you
yes,
start to
exactly.
get humble.
Yeah.
Your
Yourself, like,
level, yeah.
I know where I stand. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and really,
Yeah.
this is what makes the running
Yeah.
part of running. You know, all the excitement.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
learning all of that.
Yeah.
And not just that we learn all of that, but the travel time. You know, people's got stories and meeting,
Yeah, yeah.
meeting
Right.
how we build our team. You know,
The
all of that
community,
plays in
yeah.
a
I
role.
think
Like
that's-
how and what makes
Yeah.
you. Running is just not about one foot in front
Exactly.
of the other, time,
Yeah.
distance. Yeah, all
It's,
of that plays.
I
in
think
a
that's what I really like about running is that everybody's got a reason why they started
Right.
running, right? It's not a sport. Like there's nothing to win here. Like you're not juking people. It's not basketball.
Right.
It's not football. Like
Yeah.
it's boring, right?
It's-
like
it's-
most people would say it's super boring. Like,
But it's you.
but it's you.
Right. You
And-
versus
That's
you,
really what
yeah.
it comes down
And,
to. It's you.
and you do go through a big mental like that's I think when I was younger, I'd probably run just to be leaner, try to show my
Right.
muscles.
Yeah.
Now,
I've been there.
But now at this age, now I run. A lot of times people, like some of my friends who don't run, they ask me, why do you go run? And I don't even run crazy. I always look up to you guys, but I always tell them, it's like, it's more than anything, it's just for my mental health, because it keeps me, for one, it keeps me sharper, I feel like, for just day-to-day running my business and stuff like that. But two, it keeps me calmer too, because that's where I get to let that out. But it gives me time to think too, because how often in our busy lives do we really just sit there and think? But when you run, you get, you get music, but
and sometimes the music just goes
drowns
in and
out when you get once you start to hurt.
Just me.
Yeah.
I get to do just me, and this is the difference between, I run because I'm tired. I run because I'm sad. I run because I'm happy. I run because I have so much on my mind. Go for the run. When you come back,
you always feel different. Huh?
And some days I'm running because of that. Some days I'm running because I'm training. Some days I'm running because it's speed work. Some days I want to run because it's just me, the road,
just
my
to
shoes,
get out,
and music. So, what is it? Well, now I'm training. So, this year, everything is strictly going to Boston qualify. That's all I want this year.
So goal
to
for
hit the
Ironmans,
310.
I mean, I'm still in the water. I'm still on my bike.
Okay.
No ultra.
So does that affect your pavement running when you're running ultras or when you're trail running?
Oh yeah, I mean, I love trail running. How you're running on grass and dirt and gravel, the impact is less. Versus running road. When it's running road and I feel like I'm speaking from my experience. You're running like your race pace. Some days you're just running just to run. But I'm running my race pace. I'm running my 7 minute miles, and you see down the road, you're like, I'm just giving it all. Trail running is a little different, where it's soft pavement. Sometimes you're going inclines. And you're like, okay, let me slow it down. I can slow it down because the inclines, like when you're climbing a mountain, you're like, oh, it's really sharp, it's really steep. So let's slow it down. Let's slow down the pace, drop your heart rate. So there's a lot of science in running. There's a lot, all of that, like this game plan, how you want to run as a runner versus running road and trails. So
it is interesting because I think people who don't run also don't understand all those things. Like there's different ways of running, right? It's just like the Olympics, right? You have your 100, your 200, your 400. You have your 3,000 meter. And I've always been curious by trail. I think that one day, let me just get through my first marathon, but I'm sure that one day I'll get into, even if it's not an ultra, just something that's like a trail run, just because it seems peaceful in a way too.
It does.
You're out in the
running through the
especially
woods,
the ones that like I've watched documentaries on like Leadville 100 or all the ones out in the ones in the Rockies and stuff. You're like, you're basically going for a hike. Slash run in the mountains.
Right?
Nature. Through nature. And so you're like you're gonna suffer, but at the top you're gonna get you're like running, doing something good for yourself, but at the same time you're gonna get to take in like awesome views and stuff like that.
When I just last year or 2 years ago I ran Grand Tetons.
Oh, nice.
It wasn't a race. It was just me. My friend invited me out there, and I'm like, hey, tomorrow I'm going for a run. Well, Google says 16 miles, but it ended up being like a full marathon. It's a long day. But still, it was just me being out in Mother Nature. Man, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And 10 years ago, I would have never even thought about going out there by feet. I would have just drove out there, looked at the cliff, cool. But man, some of the places where you can go and only feet can take you there.
On your feet,
phenomenal. I'm like, this place right here, hands down. And I saw like 2 other runners out there, and they're like, I kind of know. We say hi to each other. We know what we're seeing here. He's like, he stopped, he looked, and he's like, soak it in, enjoy it. And I'm like, I am, because he ran by me and I stopped. I'm over here taking selfies, and then he's like, soak it in, man, enjoy.
No, you're right, because those trails, unless you're going on that long run, if it's not one of those like, because I went to Grand Teton just to go see it with my wife. We did a hike, but it was like the hike that you go on Google and everybody tells you to do that hike, right? It's not the one that you go running. And the one you go running, like you said, it's a path a lot less traveled.
Yeah.
And so what you see is much more. It's a unique angle of that mountain or that cliffside, and obviously, and then all the little details, right? Time of day. Where's the sun at the time? Is it cloudy? Is it raining?
It was truly incredible. And
Yeah.
then now the other friends are like, wait until you go to Montana. I've done Utah. I'm like,
Nice.
I haven't done the Rockies, but they're like, yeah, go. Because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
Did you bring bear spray with you when you ran?
No,
in Grand Tetons?
no, I did not. But I messed up. I saw 2 cubs,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking to one was in front of me, and the other one was behind me.
Oh, so mother's
That's probably like the
somewhere
worst,
in the
Yeah,
middle.
I'm
worst
just
scenario
like,
ever,
oh
right?
my
Yeah.
God.
Middle.
I
Yeah.
looked at the cub. I got up and I ran, then I fell, and the cub was like, oh, I'm gonna hang out with this guy. I'm over here like, as the cub's getting closer, I got up and I'm like, where's mom?
Yeah.
What I do? What do I do now?
Yeah.
Cub was like as far as your car.
Dang.
And
Yeah.
the other
That's-
one's like
yeah.
in front of me, and I'm like,
Yeah, so mom is somewhere in the
somewhere.
middle.
mom's somewhere here. And
Yeah.
that baby cub went down the mountain, and I'm like, what about this one? And I just took off, and the
Yeah.
baby cub was like running with me too.
Wow.
And I'm
Yeah,
like,
you got a little
holy
running
shit, I
shot,
almost
man.
ran like my fastest 2 mile. I'm like, and I fell
Yeah.
twice, and I still got it, and I ran like my face is all dirty, I'm
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
scuffed up. I saw this older lady and a younger kid, and I'm like, a bear, and she's like, what, where? And then she took out her spray, and she's like, well, baby cub was behind me. Well, trust me, they're long gone now. I'm like,
Yeah.
but baby cub was just behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I ran out of water. I'm exhausted. I did not plan for this.
Yeah.
I did not plan it well. So
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
no
yeah.
food, no nothing. She's like, hey, take some water. I still had another 10 miles to go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what an adventure to have by yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
What an
And
adventure
when I
for you
got
to have in
done,
your own head.
I saw some girls, I was like about less than half a mile from my car, and they're like, yeah, just keep going. Or they saw me, and they're like, you okay? Because my face is all dirty.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was scuffed up. I'm like, yeah, I'm okay, but I parked my car by a cliffside, and I'm like, hey, I'm almost to the cliffside with the building to the left, right? They're like, yep, you're almost there. Just keep going. Just keep going. And
Yeah.
by the time I got done, I did a full marathon. I'm like, I did not. That's not
Yeah,
what
that's
was
not what you-
planned.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not what you
Yeah.
when you stepped out of your car that day. That
Yeah.
was not the plan.
But
yeah.
after I got done, got back to the campsite, I'm like, I don't think I would have had it any
Yeah.
other way.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And that's
getting
the
lost,
beauty of-
meeting some cubs. I'm glad I didn't
That's
meet Mama
incredible,
Bear,
though.
but
Yeah.
I'm like running out of food. I'm like, oh, then I met these girls up in this lake, and they're like, hey, do you need anything? Because I was asking them where did I go, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of lost. They're like, yeah, so they refilled my water because I did not make it back to my car to refill my water.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I was helped. Man,
So
you
that's
just
great.
meet
So
incredible
the running
people.
community,
Oh.
it's
Oh,
always
yeah.
just kind of look
Yeah,
out for each
you
other,
know,
help
we
each other.
kind
out.
of know, like,
Yeah.
you know, what you went through, you know, how
You
you
were-
I think
get
everybody
together.
that's I think and I think everybody that's done those trail runs, they can't lie and say that they didn't make those mistakes too, where they
Right,
either got
right,
lost
yeah.
or they
Yeah.
didn't bring
Yeah,
enough
you know, you're like,
water.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be okay with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're overly
It's hard.
confident.
It's-
Yeah, you're too
it's like,
confident.
oh my God, what do we do? How do we get here?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Learning
Um,
mistakes.
Question. Going back, you said that one of the goals is to do the
Qualify for Boston.
yeah, qualify for
Qualify
Boston. That's
for
like the
Boston, yeah.
310, right? So what's your training regimen looking like for that? Like your day to day, week to week?
So, I mean, I always tell them a minimum of miles in a month, 100 or more.
100 or more a month.
Yeah, your
Crazy,
body
man.
has to
Yeah,
be
just think
always
about
moving,
that.
yeah.
right. Oh, we need to get
Yeah.
there. I know how it is to cross the finish line. I know
Yeah.
how it is to cramp
Right.
up. I know what it takes to
You've done
get
it enough.
under.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to do more than what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Speed work 2 times a week,
Yeah.
intervals, getting on the tracks. I didn't know this, but when I just started running, I was just running because I wanted miles. It wasn't until Boston, Ultra is out of the way. I got 30. I
Yeah.
did my 50. Ironman's out of the way.
You
Multiple
got to be
70s.
singular in your goal, right?
Yeah.
You got to be
Yeah.
singular
So now
in
I
your
need to
objective.
focus on power, strength, 2
Yeah.
times a week. So it's strength training, so that means weight. Running my regular daily miles.
Yeah.
In the long runs on my Sundays, you know, your long runs are like 18 or 20 miler. In the long tempo runs, where you put in speed work with your long miles. So that's really how you.
What's your best marathon time you said before?
So I got a 3:20.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're 10 minutes off that
So I'm
pace.
shy, yeah.
And
I'm
where
shy.
did you which marathon was 3:20?
And I ran all my fast marathon in Sacramento.
In Sacramento,
It's
okay.
fast.
Is Sacramento a qualifier for Boston? Okay.
Okay.
Is that where you're gonna go for it?
Okay.
Okay.
Where this is the first. So the last time I ran Sacramento, your Boston bell, you get a ring a bell. It's a big bell. It's beautiful. And if you Boston qualify, you get to ring it. The amount of people that qualify there, man, the line. I'm like, you're gonna be like, dang, all of you guys, you got your sub threes running it. You know,
Yeah.
all of the age group. You're like, wow, everybody here is qualifying in Boston, which is amazing. Our team there, a lot of them qualify from there.
Yeah.
And we got our sub 3 guys there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you know, when you meet your Hmong brother and sister, when they're fast, you're like, wow,
Yeah.
you guys are
No.
amazing, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, you think like that about them, but I think like that about y'all. You know,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Right,
and-
yeah.
Crazy.
But the nice thing about running is we know that running is a type of sport where I feel like there is a genetic piece. There's a genetic component to it when you're at the elite level. But I feel like there's a part where it's just if you pay your dues enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you put in the time, the discipline, because we've seen it. Every runner starts like that, right?
Right.
Every runner starts high, and
I
then the
agree.
ones who are really focused, all of a sudden you see them run 3:20, 3:30s, and you're like, wow, that guy's so fast. He must be gifted. But then you start talking to them, and you realize, no, these guys just have been doing it for 5-6 years, and every year they just push themselves some more, and that's how they got there. Like, so with running, that's what I like about it, because in football, sometimes you just don't have the talent, you
Right.
know. But in running, I feel like if you're disciplined, you pay
Right.
attention, you never stop, you keep going, you can get to those times too. Now, you may not, at a certain point, it become the genetic factor
Yeah.
of who's just better.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can go like
Our legs
so
aren't long enough.
Yeah, you can go so
Our
much further
strides
than
are
you
Whatever,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree that 10 years ago,
Yeah, would you have said you
no,
qualified
I
for
would have
Boston?
never,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
it didn't even cross my mind. Like, what? I know Boston because I've seen it on TV. Even when I started running, I'm like, I would never be at that level.
Yeah, right.
And then inspired by the guys, the Hmong brothers, the Team California guys, when those guys are doing like sub threes, I'm truly inspired because, man, that running a 6:30, 6:50
Yeah,
for
that's
20,
insane.
it's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
And now that I am confident at that level, I'm thinking to myself, I would never be that person. And now over the years of building confidence, I'm like, this is me thinking, we're just humans. We put
Yeah.
on our favorite
Right.
shoes, shorts,
Yeah.
and we go. And it takes focus and dedication, and like, wow, we can do it too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
You know that's kind of like, but you're right. 10 years ago, I just wanted to run. I didn't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
But I would never thought this would be me today. You know, marathon, ultra, breaking, 5K, 19s,
Yeah,
you know,
dang.
Ironman.
Yeah.
It was never me.
Yeah.
I always say 30s was good. But man, 40s.
Your 40s are about to be brighter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and the guys ahead of me, when I'm meeting other runners and other athletes, triathletes, whatever it is, or the guys that I'm training with, they're older, like, you're prime.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I'm starting to see it now.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm gonna be
That's
telling the same story.
that's eight.
Yeah.
That's 8-9 years of hard work and many marathons and ultras and stuff like that. You're finally
Yeah.
feeling like,
I
okay,
feel like I get it.
I'm
This is why
coming.
they're telling
Yeah.
me, man, this is your prime.
in the game, yeah.
The guys in their 50s, 60s, man, and then you get into like the Ironman world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the older
But it's
guys. Yeah.
it's an awesome community for people who don't run or do like I mean all communities are fun, but especially I find that
Well,
the running
the
community
endurance
is fun.
racing world, whether it's
Yeah.
ultra marathons, Ironmans, yeah.
It's very
Yeah,
unique,
it's-
but even running in general, I feel is a very like people who run. I feel like they can connect pretty well, and there's a
There's a relatability to it.
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah,
anybody
you know,
can-
you-
'cause it is just
it's
grit.
not extremely.
It's just grit. You know,
It's
you're just
competitive, but
grinding.
it's not like there's different, right? Like there's sports I've done where you have something in common, but it's competitive.
Yeah.
Right.
Running, it doesn't really feel like
Yeah,
that. It's
it-
like, oh, what do
Yeah.
you run? oh man, you can do better, man. I believe in you. Like it's just super positive.
It is super positive.
Yeah, it's super positive.
When I was running my first Sacramento CIM, getting on the airplane here, Twin Cities, like going there, it's a very big marathon, and you hear like the runners in the back, they're having conversations and they're talking about running. I'm gonna PR. Like, then this one in front, and that one over there's talking. You're like, damn, look at all of these runners. I know where you're going, Sacramento. So yeah, and then eventually, we're like, oh hey, we meet up. We're like, oh, we talk about. And then we talk about running, like, oh, what's your time? You're right.
It's very motivating.
Best of luck.
Yeah,
exactly.
Whatever it is, go get it. It's always positive. I've never.
And then you can like reconnect
experience.
at the end of the run.
Yeah.
If you see them after the run, you're like, how'd you do? Oh man, it's okay. You'll get it next time. Like it's super. Yeah, I've never had a bad experience in running compared to other sports.
It's such a big world, and then you get into this running world. I follow this. She's a runner on Instagram, and let me see my second CIM. I just finished, and about 10 minutes later, she comes in. I'm like, oh, I never thought I'd be meeting you in 20,000 people. And then she finished. She's like, I just bossed it. I'm like, dang, And then we just followed each other for like years, and we finally meet, and I'm like, cool, hang out. That's it. That's part of like all of running. I love it. Soaking in all that. It's just great.
And question, so you're on a team, right? So then when you guys are running as a team, like if you guys are doing a marathon, do you guys just kind of go at your own pace, or is it kind of like, do you guys kind of stay together throughout the whole race?
So the team, even the team in Warsaw, or how do I say this, my Mika team? We're all in different ages. So everyone is running for their own
their own times.
Whatever it is, whether you want PR or they just want to enjoy grandmas or Twin Cities Marathon, whatever it is. Maybe this is their first time running Medtronic, and they're like, oh, I'm just here. So they know that. So they know I'm chasing my PR. They know I'm chasing Boston. So they know, he's going to go do what he needs to do. Hey, best of luck. Go.
Sorry if I'm asking a lot of stupid questions. I'm the non-runner. He's the runner. So like,
it's
okay.
okay.
It's like a whole world. It's a whole different world.
It's like a culture of its own.
Because like I'm a big fan of. I listened to Courtney DeWalters on when she went on Rogan. She's a local, right? Yeah, she's local Minnesotan, right? Isn't she?
Yeah, she's from here, I think.
I actually know where she's from. I just
she's
follow
from
her page
Minnesota,
and
I
I just
think.
watch the news on. It's cool.
And I love hearing like her talk about her running experience, campaigns and all those guys. Anytime they're on Rogan, like I love those episodes. Those are my favorite episodes because like running is just grit. It's just grind. It's just pavement.
And it's just you versus you.
It really is. It's just you versus you. And even though we're on the same team, there's a little bit of competition. But I need you. So I can
need
that.
Just
motivate each other.
We talk about that all the time. And
I'm still trying to get ready to go run with these. Eventually, I'm going to go join because I'm part of this. What's the Facebook page? So there's two. Right? It's like Boom.
HMR, now there's Boom.
Okay.
So that's two of them, and being the Twin Cities, you got the guys here.
And I give credit. I want to shout out that page because to those who are not runners, and if you're getting into running, I encourage you to check out Boom, which is BOOMH, or Twin Cities.
It could be HMR.
Hmong
Hmong Marathon Runners. So those are the two pages.
I encourage you guys to check those out because, first of all, a ton of resources as far as people with experience, but also just finding ability to find running groups. And I haven't gone with the running groups because I ain't gonna lie, I'm pretty intimidated. I'm like, man, these guys run too much, man. I don't want to go.
We should have brought running shoes, man. We should have just
go. Like if you're here in Twin Cities,
but it's like
they're freaking amazing.
It's like you said, you do want to go run with those people to just give you a little bit of a competitive edge because you're not going to be a better runner if you don't go run with people who make you feel like you're a little bit slow.
If you just want to run, just run. And even if you go, let's say today, like if I was here, I announced that I would be here, and the teams are like, okay, cool. We already know, hey, we're just catching up. We're running at a pace. We're like, hey, how's it been? It's been a while. We're chit-chatting. We're just catching up. Kind of like what we're doing here, right? That's it. So there's a mutual understanding of that. Some of the guys here are like, I'm here because I'm training with you. Well, you're running 7 minute miles. We won't be talking.
Yeah.
You know, anything
But-
under that, we're not talking right now.
Yeah.
It's like it's Turtle, right? Oh, what's his?
Turtle for
Yeah, it's
sure.
like Turtle, right?
Yeah.
So he was.
That was the other guest.
Yeah, he was supposed to be.
Yeah, he was supposed to be.
We
He
were
got
supposed to
busy.
be. It was supposed to be 4 of us, but same thing. He's got his goal in mind, and he said, "No, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be busy. I need to train."
I
Yeah.
wanted him
So-
here because he's a Boston qualifier.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he
Yeah.
did
Probably
just
somebody
not
that you-
sub 3. I'm like, that's
Yeah, somebody
amazing.
you look-
That's why I can't speak from that end. God, I wanted him, and I wanted to hear
Yeah.
personally from
Yeah,
him
yeah,
too.
yeah. Yeah.
So sub 3 is under 3.
Under 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Under 3 hours.
Which you said is
26
this,
miles.
which is under 6 minutes.
No, it'll be
You're
like a
6:30,
6:50. Yeah,
okay,
6:30
six.
for sure. So 6:50
How
on
tall
that.
is this guy?
No,
He's-
I've never
he's
seen him, but he's
taller than me,
probably
5'5".
Yeah.
Okay.
Five, six.
Because when I imagine somebody running sub 3, I just imagine some tall, lanky dude with crazy strides.
You're
but
thinking,
it's
you're,
really
thinking,
cool.
you're thinking 2 hours and 15 minutes.
But it's really
marathon.
cool to see a guy like our size
right.
do that. That's incredible.
Well,
yeah.
Let's think about it this way. Like even the pro, some of the women they're only like 5'4".
Wow.
And they're
Yeah.
running pro level. So
Yeah.
you think does height really come into play of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Distance, yeah.
Does it?
Right.
It does.
I
I
mean,
think-
science
I
does
think-
say
yeah, I
nobody's
think-
gonna say yeah. But, science really
I,
gonna
I
say
think
no.
Yeah.
it does
A
at a
lot
certain
of runners
level,
are. You're
but
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're tall.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, give
When,
or take.
when you're
right?
doing like when you're both trying to run a 2-hour marathon, then yeah, I think it plays a part because you
So,
guys
yeah,
are
you
you
know.
guys
Yeah,
are going
yeah.
hard. But I think what's more important, I would think, is just pace and consistency over time, right?
Yeah.
Like how
Right, you
fast
know,
are you going,
yeah,
and
you-
are you
the
slowing down
dedication
ever?
of work
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Are you-
knowing your abilities and
Yeah.
a lot of big roles come play in that.
a
Like
lot of game plan.
I say this, non-runners will be like, oh, you're so small, you're not going to be that fast, or you're too short.
Yeah.
They talk about height and running.
Yeah.
But runners, they don't. I've never had a running company. How do you run 19s and you're so short? Because we know. Really, does it
Yeah.
play a
Just
role?
something, hold
Yeah.
on.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because as a non-runner, right?
Yeah.
I'm just in my head. I'm just going. It strides, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
So yeah, like.
but to
our
see
5K
you
times
and
in.
to
it's
me
like,
you is
we-
incredible
we
though.
just- we just love running and
Yeah.
the training and what it takes to get to the level that you want to be at.
Yeah.
There's a sense where I'm never gonna be running 4 miles, but
Yeah. One
I'm
day,
gonna-
maybe.
I'm
Yeah.
still gonna do what I love
Yeah.
doing. You know.
That's yeah.
So
'Cause that's
yeah.
that's incredible and very inspiring too. Because I not being a runner, I definitely had this idea of what
maybe
a runner should
maybe
look
he's
like.
gonna become one.
I don't know. Maybe
It's
there
never
was a
too late.
moment
One
where
mile,
Yeah.
hey, just do 1 milers, man.
Oh, dude.
One
Yeah.
milers.
Well,
Just
there
10
were
minutes.
periods where I was
And it's
listening to
okay. Yeah.
Rogan or Courtney DeWaters, right? And then when I was actually training for my fight, I'd get up, run 5 miles every day, 4, and there was a time where I looked up ultras locally. I was
Started getting ideas in your head.
yeah, dude. They have here in Minnesota. They have the Arrowhead 130, where they run from Ely, Minnesota,
It's like a trail run.
yeah, but it's
an
in
outdoor run.
January.
Oh.
So they're running
okay.
in the dead of winter.
So there's still snow out.
Yeah, so it's so crazy because then there's some people biking, there's some people but then they're they've got their full winter gear and they're running 130 miles and they're dragging it like a sled or a tent to sleep in and so it's the idea of that is freaking incredible. I would love to, one day,
Yeah.
maybe we'll see.
Oh.
I don't know, but
when
the
the
idea
time-
of that.
when
But
the
it
times
starts
meets-
Yeah.
at the mile. you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah. I gotta get.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It does start-
let me hit up my first
It's
5K
fun.
first. I haven't done that
Yeah.
yet.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
man, a 5K
Or
is
official
fun.
5K.
It does
Yeah.
start like
5K
that
is
though.
fun.
It does start with just
Yeah.
your first mile, and then, I used to run in the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps you only run. Your test is about a 5K, and then sometimes if you have an instructor that wants to kick your ass, he'll take you for a 10K. But I always hated because in your early 20s, I'm trying to get buff and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But as I get older too, you're like, I don't know, being buff doesn't do anything for me
Yeah.
now. Now it's the mental win of just doing something that you knew was hard too.
Right.
It's hard to
Yeah.
you, right? You're like, oh man, 5 miles sounds terrible, but then you get it done. You're like, well, if I can do 5, I mean, I wasn't dying, so I could probably do 6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really, you're right.
And-
And I say that all the time, I went through worse. Yeah. And,
Yeah. Well, especially for you, because
that's
your
my
story
fire,
really
you know?
brought you. Yeah.
But really, running itself or any endurance races, it starts mentally.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
when I was at my lowest point, mentally, I was drained. I can't do this. The word can't, like imprinted in my brain where, and you know, where we talked about when we were younger, we wanted to look buff or ripped.
Yeah.
Mentally, your physical form is gonna show how you are.
Yeah.
And when I started to focus on me and I got stronger, running mentally, I was stronger. I was more confident, and my body started to show that. Oh,
It reflected what you had in here.
What here is what it looks on the outside.
Yeah.
And then you start to like the detailed parts, you know, abs, arms,
Right,
you know,
right,
and then,
right,
you
right.
start to
Then
get
it's-
into that part.
Oh,
of
he
it.
knows this guy was a bodybuilder, so he
Yeah.
understands that
So-
part.
But I was all show and no actual, you know.
And I always say I got the best from both worlds.
Yeah.
And cardio versus weight. Yeah, I don't power lift, but I like to put enough on me
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
I
A little
want
bit
to
of work still.
where
Yeah.
I just want to stay where my physical
Yeah.
form is.
Yeah.
I'm happy here, and I'm telling myself that I'm happy. I believe that my physical form shows that I'm happy.
Yeah.
So
Well, your attitude definitely shows it.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
starts up here. I tell
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
it starts up here. Yeah.
For sure.
So
Super
All
incredible
right.
and
Well-
crazy motivation.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just having you here is like
Energy
super
starts high,
awesome.
yeah.
thank you
Energy
guys so
starts
much.
high for the day.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah, but to go back to everything, the reason I really wanted you here is because this is exactly what I was looking for. I just wanted to get some inspiration out of this conversation because I knew that I would, right? Just based on the picture of you being in the hospital, knowing that you're a distance runner, I knew that you don't do all those things and you're generally not going to be too much of a negative person when you do stuff like that. At least from my experience, anytime I meet somebody who's a distance runner or a runner in general or it has gone through something like that, I would just assume that you're a person that comes in with an energy that you brought us here today. And so for the people who are viewing, whether you're young and don't think that you're going to be a runner in the future or don't think you like running, I encourage you to try it. If you're much older, my dad is 64. He's about to try to run his first. It's never too late either. And you can see how it shapes people's minds and maybe it's something that you guys can try that maybe makes you better. And like Fritz said, it doesn't matter. You just have to start. Time is not a thing. It's just you versus you. And and I'm really happy that you came today and shared your story because I think it's a story that it needs. If I could help it, I want it out there because that's a great story.
Yeah,
Well, thank
and
you.
we have to have you back after you qualify for the Boston, because like we talked a little bit prior to the pod about you being a father. We didn't even get into any of that. I think your story was just so incredible. Like, and so like I want to definitely make sure we bring you back on and talk a little bit more and dig into some of that, right? And then also like your running journey, and as that progresses, like I would love to get like continuous updates from you, just because like it's such an incredible story and it's so inspirational. Shoot, like I want to go running now.
He's about to look for running shoes after this is over.
Yeah. Well, like so, I buy running shoes, like I buy like trail running shoes, like so I like pretend or I look like I run, or I make it look like I run, but like I definitely don't. I just walk around in them.
We're gonna have to start that up.
So last question, Fritz,
Yes.
You're gonna be using the Sacramento Marathon as your Boston qualifier?
So this year, Grand Miles will be one of them.
Okay.
I'm trying to qualify
And
Medtronic.
you want to run Boston in 24 or for
So
next?
if you want to run in 2025, you have
Qualify
to do it
this
by
year.
before September.
Okay.
So I got 2 tries.
Two tries to
Grand
try to
Miles
land 25
and
Boston.
Medtronic, Twin Cities here, and then Sacramento. No matter what, I'm gonna go, and if I qualify, cool. It'd be great if I qualify by Grand Miles. That means I can sign up for Ironman Madison, and I can get all
do other
that fun
things.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then, next goal will be, I want a sub 3 too.
Yeah.
So,
Why not?
Yeah,
Wow.
Why
30
not?
miles is out. Ultra 50 miles is checked off. at the time, I said I wouldn't do it. If you asked me when I was running my first 50 with the team, well, I never said I wouldn't do 100, so well, I don't know, you know.
Hey, when you do, you gotta come back.
So
you gotta come back.
I didn't say I wasn't gonna do it. So it's endless.
For sure. Well, I appreciate your time, Fritz, and
guys
definitely
so much.
motivated me, and I'm sure you motivated other people that listen. So thank you for your time, man.
Thank you for having me.
Hey man, I needed that. I needed that. I needed that
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. It was a good time.
Yeah.